Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday night update. It is the Earthmaster here, about 10:57 p.m. California time, March 22nd, 2024. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe looks like a 1.5 into the California area. We'll check out the earthquake activity here in just a little bit. Got to cover some big-time space weather activity. We did see a pretty large X flare with a subsequent CME associated with that recently. At the same time, we did see a fairly large flare as well from this regional sunspot just south here. Now, that X flare peaked out at an X 1.1. We've had obviously larger flares in the past, but what makes this one interesting, of course, is the position of the sunspot and also the CME that was associated with this large explosion here. Now, solarham.net has an image right about here. Look at this. This is looking at the sun, Earth-directed side. Look at that full massive halo CME explosion headed towards the Earth. That is a big-time eruption there from sunspot number 3614. And if you guys remember, 3614 was 3590 last time it was out here across the Earth-facing side of the sun. So it came back around the bend. It didn't blast off any CMEs last time it was out here, but this time, boy, did it. Also, 3615 was currently flaring at about the same time as that large X flare today. This sunspot down here is getting super dangerous in terms of complexity. It's growing quite rapidly over the last 24, 48 hours or so. Both of these sunspots are directly facing Earth. This one's more lined up due to the position across the center portion of the sun. But we did get a nice CME being produced from this most recent X flare. Now, let me see if they've updated anything yet in terms of potential. Let's see what we got. This is the solar wind prediction here. Let's see if we're going to look at a CME headed this way. We'll see it. This is the sun in the yellow. Green is the Earth. It doesn't look like they've included anything in here yet because they're not showing any type of CME, but that was a big-time CME event, and they'll probably update that here maybe tomorrow. So we'll have to pay close attention to that because I have a feeling we'll be looking at some decent auroras here in the forecast. So, yeah, here in the article that Kevin mentions that the event around 3614 appears to be the brighter of the two and coronal dimming originating from 3614, which is evident of a coronal mass ejection. And, of course, we see it right here on the stereo ahead space satellite that's monitoring the activity. Beautiful, full halo CME. We'll watch for some potential activity here in the days ahead. Now it looks like particle levels are now on the rise following the eruptive event. So proton activity kicking up here, it looks like, across this area of the polar regions. We'll watch for that overnight. Should get quite a bit coming in here. Right now, 5% chance for the proton probability, but that's probably a little bit more than that. X flare at 10%, M flare at 50%, C flare at 99% chance. So, and we're currently still flaring here with some C flare activity from, looks like this regional sunspot down south here. Either way, look at these magnetic arches here. Those are very powerful sunspots, and they do harbor some potential here of further X flaring activity. And these are directly facing the Earth. Now, let me see if we got a movie of this X flare activity earlier. I'm going to put this into motion here and see what we got. What I'd like to do first, though, is slow it down a little bit here because sometimes we can miss it, especially if it's really fast like that. So I'm going to swing it up about here, and let's watch these sunspots here. This one's been, sparking off some filament eruptions here, but you'll see it. It's going to be a big one. Well, where did it go? Did these guys update anything here? It doesn't look like, is this the latest one? I'm kind of Kind of curious to see if it is or not. Maybe not. Either way, that's a little odd. All right, so there it is, though. Kevin got a nice snapshot of it here. It does look like he has a video of that event on his YouTube channel if you want to check that out. But those are the two flares. There is the X1.12 flare, and there was a pretty strong flare, but uncertain on to the strength of it because both of these flares popped off at about the same time. Very rare to see that activity, and more so when it's Earth directed. So definitely some interesting activity taking place here. We'll watch for this CME that could be headed towards Earth in the days ahead. So that's some older activity, but goodness, crazy day on the sun. And I don't think we're done yet. These are very complex sunspots here, more so on this one. Look at these magnetic arches right here stretching down to one another. That is crazy. All right, visible disk here of the sun shown 3615. The more complex structure, more complex sunspot of the two, but obviously we've seen that X flare pop off just from this activity here. So yeah, goodness. All right, so right now no major auroras in the forecast. On the 25th, it looks like there's a chance of elevated KP index. That is due probably primarily to this coronal hole that's been facing us here, number 12. But this forecast is subject to change. It may be updated with the newer arrival of a CME here soon, because I guarantee you that blast that we've seen there today would be a lot more than the KP index of 4 to 5, especially with a full halo CME eruption like we've seen today. Is this one? Kind of want to see if this one's updated or not. Well, that's nice. Lost. Oh, that got eclipsed. That's why. So it looks like that was it there. Let me see. Let me go back here a little bit. Kind of hard to tell on some of these. Let's check this one out. This one's fairly recent, but maybe too recent. We just barely caught the end of that flare. This was a long duration X flare as well. It lasted for quite a while. So I have a feeling we'll definitely be seeing some elevated aurora activity here soon, once the Space Weather Prediction Center gets a hold of it. All right, let's move on, see what we got for earthquake activity. Anything stirring up from all this flaring activity? As far as large-scale activity, I'm really not seeing anything. 6.4 down in Indonesia area. That was earlier this morning, prior to all this solar weather activity. I'm kind of curious here. You know, we got to watch the relationship between the two, the space weather and the earthquake activity potential. Now, right now, we did have a pretty strong X flare, right? Earth directed. I do not see any elevated earthquake activity out here. No large scale movement, no unusual activity. So that's probably a negative, at least for the flaring activity right now. But we will see what happens once the arrival of the CME hits the Earth and has the effect on the magnetosphere. Then I think we'll see potentially some elevated earthquake activity. But we'll continue to watch that here over the next couple days and see how things play out. Southern California, a handful of smaller quakes, really not seeing anything major. A little bit of activity out here around the Borrego Badlands area, it looks like. A couple ones, nothing big. Just some very small earthquake activity out there in the last hour or so. The southern branch of the San Andreas Fault looks pretty quiet for now. Let's look at the 2.5 map and above. Really nothing here in the last 24 hours, so this is all very small microquake activity. Across the Bay Area, a little bit of movement there across the San Francisco area. That was from last night. And another one here, it looks like earlier this evening outside of the San Francisco Zoo. And let's see, further up north, typical movement here in the Clear Lake volcanic field. That is hydrothermal operations here. We covered that a lot. Nothing changed, nothing unusual there for now. A little earthquake here along the west side of the valley that's associated with the Great Valley Thrust Fault here. Now that's about 37 kilometers deep. That's well deep underneath this area, just outside of Orland, Willows area, again along the west side of the valley. And there is definitely a fault system, older fault system that runs through here called the Great Valley Thrust Fault. This earthquake is underneath automatic status, so it could get revised pending a review from a seismologist. 2.4 for now, about 37 kilometers below the surface. That's quite deep. Looking at the tremor activity here, we do see elevated tremor across the Northern California area and the Southern Oregon region, with a decent uptick at 309 epicenters of tremor. Now, that's a pretty decent amount compared to what we've seen here over the past few days or so. Change of the weather. We go from 75, 80 degrees back down to 48 with rain. Crazy. We'll check out the weather here in just a little bit. But 309 epicenters, that's a pretty decent amount. We'll continue to watch that. That just means that we're getting some further strain out here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Further up north, Washington area, handful of earthquakes outside of Mount St. Helens, but really nothing major going on. The rest of the country out there fairly quiet, aside from your typical earthquake activity in the oil fields. Puerto Rico region, one earthquake outside the San Juan area, 3.2 just to the east side there. Let's see what we got here on the earthquake 3D globe. There's that movement stirring up across New Zealand earlier. GeoNet servers reporting that as a 5.6. It looks like USGS is a 4.8. We did see some further activity here around the North Island with a 3.0 coming in, fairly recent. Otherwise, this is older movement from earlier. We're starting to fill in the gap here of this quiet zone. Remember, in between about Fiji and the Papua New Guinea area, with another deep earthquake here in the Vanuatu area. Really no surface adjustment going on. That's a little concerning because it's been awfully quiet here in terms of earthquake activity. It really doesn't stay quiet for all too long, but lately, when things do kick up out here, it looks like just deeper movement. That's adding further strain here across that region of the subduction zones. Let me go check out the GeoNet servers here real quick and see what's cooking out here. Now, that's 14 hours ago. We got to go to the all magnitudes and see what's up. Some deeper activity once again here. 136 kilometers for that 2.6. That looks like it's on the southern end here of the Hikurangi subduction zone. Where's that three-pointer? Looks like 2 hours ago, three-pointer, North Island there. It's kind of an odd location. West side, 12 kilometers deep. But still kind of watching the New Zealand area. A handful of deep quakes here in the last 24 hours, it looks like, including that larger movement down south there. Again, GeoNet reporting that as a 5.6. That's going to be this earthquake in question. Just about ready to drop off the 24-hour threshold here. But that was a decent earthquake. It showed up, all across the South Island station there, and it was felt fairly broadly across the region as well. That's going to be this earthquake down here. Looks like about, see how many reports we got. Oh, yeah, 1,559 total reports. Now, a few folks reported some extreme shaking out there, a ways away from the epicenter. So that's probably not accurate. More accurate along these levels here, weak, light, maybe some moderate shaking if you're very close to the epicenter of that 5.6. Now, that 5.6 was fairly shallow. Looks like about 5 kilometers or so. So we'll continue to watch the New Zealand area. It's definitely been somewhat active here. I was expecting some larger movement here recently, but we've just seen a bunch of little quakes here, more so than normal. Look at this deep earthquake here. Where's that at? That is a deep one. Is that 3.2? No, it's one of these. Fairly recent as well. Let's eliminate some of that. Looks like that's going to be kind Kind of hard to tell here. Is that going to be the 4.3? Yeah, 541 kilometers. Goodness, that is, let's see, is the USGS reporting that? Let's go check that out here real quick and see what we got. Yes, they are. So 4-pointer, look how deep that is. 547 kilometers associated here with the subduction zone near the Philippine Trench underneath this area. These guys do get a lot of deeper earthquake activity. Notice these dark circles here, representative of deeper quakes. The legend shows us the deep quakes here, well below 300 kilometers. The more surface adjustment earthquakes take place further upstream, and some of those can be pretty large in that area. So we'll continue to watch that. As far as the Java Trench goes, from the earthquake activity this morning, let me bring this back here to the last 24 hours. Definitely seen some microquake aftershock activity, quite a few threes in that mix. A slight advancement here across the Java Trench northward towards Sumatra area, but really no big earthquake activity, but we'll continue to watch that, maybe for some further migration up along the plate boundary. Quite a few fours stirring up out there into the area of China, far western areas of China, it looks like. Further to the west, out in the Red Sea, what do we got going on out here? Out in the divergent zone, a couple fours stirring up out here, literally within a couple hours of each other. Four seem to be the magic number out there. And a little bit of movement in the Mediterranean and also around the Turkey area, it looks like. Further out to the Atlantic, not a whole lot there. This is from earlier this morning. Kind of curious to see how Iceland is doing. So let's go check that out real quick from the Live from Iceland website. Now that's still looks like it's quite active here. Quite a bit of activity. I'm not for sure what's going on with the webcam there. I don't know if it's wind. It does look a little windy out here, but it's kind of hard to say. Let me see what we got here across the other one. This one's a little bouncy as well. So either way, the lava continues to free flow here from the deeper areas below. Quite a bit of fountaining going on here. Really haven't seen any major decline. This is like day number 6, getting into day number 7 of continuous eruptive activity there. A lot of this lava is building on top of the previous lava flow. Let's go check out the latest information here from the Icelandic Met Office, which was put out earlier today. They were just mentioning about the increased risk of volcanic gases and the potential for, the pollution around the area. It doesn't look like they've mentioned anything new about the eruption itself. They've just stated here recently that the lava is flowing freely from the Svartsengi reservoir area up to the surface region. We haven't seen any blockage of the activity, similar, to what we've seen in the last couple eruptions. So we just have a free flow going up here to the surface. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Something has definitely changed compared to the last eruption. So just kind of an interesting ordeal here. We'll have to see how this plays out. Either way, magma continuing to stack up here. Let me see if they've updated. Well, they haven't really updated any maps. This one was put out, looks like yesterday. This shows the thickness of the lava, basically the stacking of the lava here. Still working its way south, and it could continue to just do this for a little bit until it finds a little area to divert further southward. But no advancement down south here towards the ocean, just kind of stacking up here with this continued flow of lava. And we'll continue to watch that. Let's see what we got for earthquake activity here. Not a whole lot. A little bit of movement up north there across the rift zones, but far as around the Grindavik area, not a whole lot there. And with the GPS stations here, with a continuous free flow of lava, magma from the surface or magma from below up to the surface, we shouldn't notice any type of inflation, right? Because we're not building the pressure down below. It's all coming out from the surface. So here is the latest chart here. It does look like, surprisingly, that we're getting a little bit of inflation. That could mean that we're getting further push of magma up from below, which could intensify maybe the eruptive activity that's currently taking place. I'm talking about these two dots right here. This is the up vertical displacement. Looks like that is almost current up to today's date. It did take a pretty big drop with this current eruption that started about a week ago, but we're starting to go back up, and we haven't even halted the eruption yet. So just got to watch that. Could get a little interesting here, that's for sure. All right, what else we got here in terms of any other activity? South America, fairly quiet. I mean, there's always some 2s and 3s stirring up down there. Up in Canada, I had a 4.1 way up here. Now, I'm not for sure if the Canada folks here have shown that. Let's see here, Earthquakes Canada. Let me bring this up here. Doesn't even look like they've shown anything here on their most recent site. I'm not for sure why, but I don't see any recent activity here because it would be in the red or at least the orange, but nothing's showing up here. So let's see where this 4.1 is showing up from the EMSC. They're the folks that are reporting it. Let's check out the map here, world map for the earthquake activity, and we'll zoom over here towards Canada. It does look like it's yeah, 4.1 in the Alberta, Canada region, 3 kilometers deep. No testimonies in terms of people feeling it. Oh, that's a little odd. I don't know. It almost looks like maybe could be a false earthquake. I don't know. We'll have to check back on that. But EMSC still reporting it. The Canada folks not. So it's a little odd there. All right, let's get into weather outlook here. We got this storm system knocking on our door here in California. Brought the colder temperatures in with some showers. I picked up almost a quarter of an inch of rain. I was just looking on my weather station here. So that's not too bad for a in the March storm. We do have more coming on the way here. The severe weather threat out here really not that big. Looks like continued activity maybe across southern Florida for a primarily for a tornado threat down there, 5% zone it looks like. As we head into the weekend, look at this low pressure system here across the west coast. That will continue to work its way eastward and potentially bring severe weather threats early next week here across these same regions once again. So this is very important here. We're getting these setups dynamically set up here that can produce some potential tornado activity out here. It's a perfect prime example of a severe weather maker right here. Got a lot of colder air, a lot of moisture associated with that low pressure it's pulling up. So we got to watch that. We'll cover that a little bit closer and over the weekend. Another storm due here across the west coast about Wednesday night or so. That's kind of it looks like a little bit wetter system compared to this one. And another one behind that. Notice these dark green areas here indicating some decent rainfall accumulation rates. And, that could spell some more severe weather potential out here as well. After that, I like this. Look at this here. You guys see that high pressure? Not often do you hear me say that I'm happy for a high pressure system, but if you know what's happening on the 8th, that is the total eclipse, solar total eclipse. We can't miss that. That's going to be a pretty awesome event. I will be out in Texas live streaming the event in totality for 4 minutes and 24 seconds there of totality. I can't wait. Again, I'll cover my trip and the total eclipse information as we get a little bit closer. But I'm just checking these weather models. I like this one. Last night it showed a little bit of wet weather out here, which it's completely gone in this model run. But then again, tomorrow this could change again. But we'll continue to check that, see how the weather is going to see if it's going to cooperate or not to be able for all of us to view the total eclipse. All right, folks. Trying to think what else there is. I think that's about it. We'll watch for the space weather activity. See if they put out a little update in terms of maybe the aurora activity here in the coming week. But I still think we got some decent flare threats out here from these two massive sunspots. Look at that. You can just look at this feature of this one right here. It's crazy. Almost looks like a, I don't know, something with wings. Very odd looking. So, yeah, we'll continue to watch this, folks. Please stay safe out there. Look at that. Massive. It's just looking right at us, too. I don't think we're done with that. So just be safe, folks. I'll catch you guys back out here in the morning for the Saturday morning update. And we'll see what happens overnight here with continued flaring. Have a good one, guys. We'll catch you back here tomorrow sometime. Peace out.